Hi, my name is Cathy, and I work with parents who are concerned about their teen or young adults' drug or alcohol use. So if you are a parent who has a child who's experimenting or has become dependent on drugs and alcohol, do check out my website, cathytombaugh.com, and there's also quite a few videos here that you can check out as well that can be helpful. So today, what I wanted to talk about is 5 communication traps that we can easily fall in when we're concerned about our child. These come from the craft materials, community reinforcement, and family training. And I really like this approach because it gives parents and other family members tools and strategies that can really help motivate your child to change. So these are traps that so many of us often fall into, and you're certainly not alone if you have found yourself doing this. I know I have, and it's hard watching our child struggle. It's very hard. So the first one is too much information. Giving too much information is basically repeating the same information over and over and over again and hoping that your child will listen to your words, understand what you're saying, take action. And so often is, I've been there, and so many other parents have too, that our kids don't. It just becomes nagging. It becomes, repeating. You become the problem instead of being focused on the problem. So giving too much information just isn't quite so helpful. If you have some things that you need to share with your child, for example, if your child's a teen and using marijuana, certainly you want to let them know about the damage that early substance use can do to the brain, but you don't want to just keep repeating this. Or if you have an older child who has an alcohol problem, once they understand the effects of alcohol on the brain and the effects that it can have on their life, again, repeating this over and over isn't so helpful. I once had a mom who I was working with who had a son who just, had been struggling for a long time with alcohol. And we were talking about it and with the idea of, not repeating the idea that he is continuing to drink and why that's just still a problem. And, we were talking about how the fact is he knows that she does not like the alcohol. She doesn't need to keep saying that. So that there's other things that you can do that can be a lot more helpful. So the second one is lecturing. And lecturing is really something that I think as a parent, we've all been there. It's so easy to fall into that trap. But lecturing, again, becomes white noise for our kids. We don't really get through to them when we approach it that way. What happens is you're talking at your child rather than with your child. And so it really, again, is not, they do not take notice of what you're saying. They don't listen to you as much. And often what can happen is that they shut down. They shut down. They may even confront you too. There's lots of different, become defensive. But again, lecturing isn't so helpful. So that's an approach that we would say if you can try to do something else, it would be better. Labeling is the third one, and that's when you're calling your child an addict or an alcoholic or even maybe a junkie, which is a little bit passé at this point, but all 3 of those are negative words that don't make your child feel good, and they don't encourage them to get help. Some people might think they do, but they don't. If your child, especially at the early stages, is beginning to understand that they do have a problem with drugs or alcohol, having to wear a label may be what is going to discourage them from getting help. So there's many other ways, you can talk about it. You can say a substance use problem, or we have an issue with substance use or drinking or alcohol, that kind of a thing, rather than putting a label on your child. Now, they may go to an AA or an Al-Anon meeting, and in those kinds of meetings, they may be calling themselves an addict or an alcoholic, and that is their choice. That's very different from if you as a parent are putting that label on them. I know now many people in these programs are calling themselves a person in long-term recovery or a person in recovery, and honestly, that feels so much more positive and hopeful, in my opinion. But again, whatever works for your child, if they're comfortable with that, that's fine. So again, the idea is we don't want to label our children. And you also think about labeling for parents, words like enabler and codependent. Those can be negative too. And so give yourself a break and don't label yourself as, most parents are just trying to do the very best they can. And so putting a label on us is just not so great. The next one is blaming or taking sides. And again, this is something that we've all, fallen into. So if you're blaming, probably most of the time your child is the one that's going to be the one that's getting blamed because he or she is coming up with a real negative behavior. So again, that isn't so great. What happens is when you do that is you're kind of taking sides, and your child needs to be defensive or stand up for his side, whether or not they are as invested in it as they really would have been. So when we take sides or when we blame, our child, again, it creates defensiveness, it creates confrontation, and that doesn't lend itself to change. And then the fifth one is the question and answer trap. And that's when you're asking closed questions. And by closed, I mean questions that are answered with yes or no. So a better way is to ask questions that using words such as what or how that elicit a response with, words more than just yes or no. So how did you manage your night last night? Or, what are you going to be eating for breakfast tomorrow? Or anything that is not a yes or no. And even with my children today who are doing well, I reframe my questions with them because I think it helps our relationship. It helps with the communication. I learn more about what they're doing. I think when we do yes or no answers, it just sort of stops the conversation right there, and there's just really nothing more to say. So again, the word why is another one that's not so helpful. That one already kind of lends itself that you have an opinion, and you're asking it in the question, but you have an opinion about it. So I would stay away from why as well, because again, that one leads to people feeling like, they have to defend themselves. And that's not what you want your child to do. And I know sometimes it might feel like, you're so angry or frustrated that, that's kind of the road you want to go down. But I think you want to step back. What's helped me and what's helped a lot of parents is stepping back and looking at the big picture. What is my goal here? What do I want to accomplish? And I think for most parents, the goal is that you want your child to stop using drugs and alcohol and to have a meaningful, healthy life. And the way you're going to get that, I think the best and fastest way you're going to get that is to have positive conversation, to stay close with your child and be able to connect with them. The more you can listen to them, the more they'll listen to you. So I hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, feel free to, give this video a like. If you have not subscribed, you can go ahead and do that down there as well if you're interested in more videos like this. And also leave a comment. What are conversation traps that you feel you've fallen into? Or what has helped you when you were trying to communicate with your child? Do let us know in the comments and we can share with each other. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you again real soon. Bye.